In the late 18th century, the Northwest Territory lay vast and untamed, an expanse rich in resources and teeming with life, stretching across what would become the states of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, and parts of Minnesota. This land was not just a geographical designation. It was a tapestry woven with the histories and cultures of various Native American tribes, including the Miami, Shawnee, Delaware, Wyandot, Ottawa, Chippewa, and Potawatomi. Each tribe had its own unique traditions, governance, and deep spiritual connections to the land, which they had inhabited for generations. They thrived in this territory, utilizing its rivers, forests, and fertile soil to sustain their communities. The end of the American Revolutionary War in 1783 brought significant changes to the political landscape of North America. The Treaty of Paris, which concluded the war, granted the newly formed United States control over the Northwest Territory. However, this agreement was made without the consent of the native nations who had lived there long before European settlers arrived. The implications of this treaty were profound and far-reaching, sowing the seeds of conflict that would erupt in the years to come. The U.S. government, eager to expand its borders and assert its dominance, viewed the territory as ripe for settlement, disregarding the rights and sovereignty of the indigenous peoples who called it home. Amidst this backdrop, a coalition of native tribes began to form, led by notable figures such as Little Turtle, a respected Miami war chief. Little Turtle understood the threat posed by American encroachment and sought to unite the various tribes against this common enemy. He recognized that the survival of their way of life depended on solidarity, and he worked tirelessly to forge alliances among the tribes. The urgency of his mission was underscored by the increasing influx of settlers and the growing ambitions of the young United States. In 1790, the U.S. government, under the leadership of President George Washington, dispatched General Josiah Harmar to quell the rising tensions in the Northwest Territory. Harmar's expedition, however, would soon prove disastrous. His forces, poorly organized and ill-prepared, faced a determined coalition of native warriors led by Little Turtle and the Shawnee chief Bluejacket. The confrontation at the Battle of Harmar's defeat resulted in significant American casualties and underscored the resolve of the native forces. The defeat sent shockwaves through the fledgling nation, revealing the vulnerabilities of its military and the complexities of its interactions with native peoples. The events of Harmar's campaign heightened tensions further, prompting Washington to authorize a larger military response. Governor Arthur St. Clair was appointed to lead this new campaign, tasked with restoring order and asserting U.S. authority over the territory. St. Clair's forces, however, faced numerous challenges, including logistical difficulties, poor morale, and the harsh realities of the frontier. The campaign culminated in a catastrophic defeat in 1791 at the Battle of St. Clair's Defeat, where the combined forces of Little Turtle and Bluejacket launched a surprise attack, leading to the worst defeat in U.S. military history up to that point. St. Clair's army was decimated, with hundreds of soldiers killed or captured, and the remnants of his force retreated in disarray. This defeat not only marked a significant setback for the U.S. military, but also bolstered the resolve of the native coalition, as they celebrated their victory and solidified their alliances. In the aftermath of St. Clair's defeat, the U.S. government recognized the need for a more effective military strategy. Enter General Mad Anthony Wayne, a charismatic and determined leader who took command of the newly formed Legion of the United States. Wayne understood the importance of discipline and training, and he set about organizing a well-trained, cohesive force. His approach was markedly different from that of his predecessors. He emphasized preparation, intelligence gathering, and the element of surprise. Wayne's campaign culminated in the historic Battle of Fallen Timbers in 1794. This battle would prove to be a turning point in the Northwest Indian War. With a well-disciplined army, Wayne engaged the native forces in a series of strategic maneuvers that showcased his military acumen. The battle itself was fierce, but Wayne's forces ultimately prevailed, delivering a decisive blow to the coalition of native tribes. The victory at Fallen Timbers not only marked a significant military achievement for the United States, but also paved the way for negotiations that would follow. The aftermath of the battle led to the Treaty of Greenville in 1795, a pivotal agreement that resulted in the cession of vast tracts of tribal land to the United States. This treaty was a significant loss for the native nations, as it formalized the transfer of territory that had been their ancestral home for centuries. The implications of the Treaty of Greenville were profound. It set a precedent for future land cessions and highlighted the U.S. government's strategy of negotiating treaties with native tribes, often under duress or following military victories. As the dust settled on the Northwest Indian War, the long-lasting impacts of this conflict became evident. The war established patterns for future interactions between the United States and native peoples, leading to further territorial loss and forced relocations. The legacy of figures like Little Turtle, who had fought valiantly to defend their homeland, endured despite the setbacks faced by native nations. His efforts to unite tribes against American expansion were echoed in the actions of later leaders, such as Tecumseh, who emerged as a formidable advocate for native rights and resistance. Tecumseh, a Shawnee leader, recognized the necessity of unity among tribes in the face of relentless American expansion. He sought to revive the spirit of resistance that Little Turtle had championed, calling for a confederation of tribes to stand against the encroachment of settlers. Tecumseh's vision of a united front against American expansion resonated deeply with many native peoples, and he became a symbol of ongoing resistance. The Northwest Indian War and its aftermath are often overlooked chapters in American history, yet they hold significant importance in understanding the complexities of U.S. native relations. The conflict set the stage for future confrontations, revealing the deep-seated tensions that would continue to shape the landscape of North America. The consequences of the war were not only felt by the native nations, who faced dispossession and displacement, but also by the United States, which grappled with the moral and ethical implications of its expansionist policies. Recognizing this history is crucial, as it sheds light on the narratives of resilience and resistance that characterize native experiences. The legacies of leaders like Little Turtle and Tecumseh remind us of the enduring struggle for sovereignty and the fight to protect ancestral lands. Their stories are not just relics of the past. They resonate in contemporary discussions about indigenous rights and the ongoing quest for justice. In reflecting on the Northwest Indian War, it becomes clear that this conflict was more than a military engagement. It was a clash of cultures, a struggle for identity, and a fight for survival. The war laid bare the complexities of American expansion and the profound consequences it had for native peoples. As we delve into this chapter of history, we gain a deeper understanding of the forces that shaped the United States and the enduring legacies of those who resisted its encroachment. The narrative of the Northwest Indian War is not merely a tale of conflict. It is a testament to the resilience of native nations and a reminder of the importance of honoring their histories and voices in the broader tapestry of American history.